Right.
So what we do, James, when we have people on, is we like to break the ice. We like to get to know them a bit more. Some highbrow questions. So the first one that we always ask is, what is your favourite sandwich? Your favourite sarnie?
We will judge you.
We always judge. Even though it's very personal.
Interesting, I've actually been already very, very judged in the past. So
my life has been a perpetual sequence of judgment.
Specifically in the sandwich arena.
You don't want to hear about you three, man. That was a bad time. My lunchbox was screwed up, dude.
So yeah, the housemates I lived with during my PhD, they discovered me making a sandwich one day, and I think I've got mocked ever since that it was just apparently a very boring sandwich. So I thought it was all right. It was just bread, ham, cheese, and that was it. But apparently it was like very it was no butter. Its filling didn't go all the way up to the edges, so you cut it in half and you're just like,
was it just like a standard like Warburton's white?
I think so, yeah.
Just a very slapdash on and done. Just no frills.
Just no frills. So anyway, that was former me, and after all the abuse I get now, I try to be a bit more adventurous.
That is. Like
I believe a photo of said sandwich was like the group's WhatsApp icon for quite a while.
That is though. If you did see someone with a dry ass white piece of bread, putting like dry ass cheddar and like that wafer thin ham by fucking Bernard Matthews or whatever it's called, you just go, oh lad, that looks like fucking death.
So what's the sandwich now? What would you if you were going to make one today?
Well, it depends. I think you got to have cheese on there, and it's got to be like melted as well.
Yeah.
But I would think, I wouldn't necessarily make this myself, but if I was buying out some, like, a bit of brie, a bit of bacon.
Wow.
Brie. Sort of, I guess on a panini ideally, but other breads are available.
A brie and bacon then?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, that's up there, that.
Brie, well, I've got a little story about a brie and bacon sarnie.
Oh, go on.
Dead quick. Me dad once, we were at a petty station on, like, we were been somewhere. And he went, he stopped off at like a servos and he went, go and get me a chicken sandwich, lad. I was going in and he was a KFC. But I thought that's what he meant. Like, if he was a KFC, someone said, get me a chicken sandwich, you'd think he wants a chicken sandwich. I just went in there, lad, thinking he wants like a standard club sandwich from like the fucking W.H. Smith. And lads, I don't know why. I ended up going to Costa and getting him a bacon and brie, thinking like, oh, that's decent.
That's a sandwich.
Lads, and I got back in the car and I went, yeah, and he went, where's me sarnie? And I went, bacon and brie. He went, I asked for the chicken sandwich. And I went, I don't know. He went, I went, what are you on about? He went, there's a fucking KFC there. And I went, anyway, yeah, it was
that's the most you story ever.
But I did think, why did I get you a bacon and brie, sarnie?
Why's your head gone there?
Just because he mentioned it, and I do like bacon and brie.
No, I mean, like, when your dad asked you for the chicken sandwich.
Because I got him a bacon and brie.
No, you battered me head.
He chose bacon and brie.
No, I'm not that point. I get where your stories come from.
Oh, why did I get a bacon and brie?
There we go.
Well, that's what I don't know. I never had an answer to that.
I can't. An enigma.
I just walked in, got sidetracked by my own order, and I was like, "Oh yeah, Dad, bacon and brie," and then just like walked out.
So, next question: you're having a dinner party.
Yeah.
3 people dead or alive. Who would you invite round?
I'd start with good old Queen Elizabeth, rest in peace. Not because I'm a particular like monarchist or anything like that, but I think she's seen or met so many interesting people.
Just to listen to the stories.
She must have some good stories about some of them, or some of the politicians or stuff. They must have slipped up, or she must have strong opinions. And I guess just hearing actually what she thought of these people.
Queen Lizzie.
Good old Queen Liz. And I think I'm a bit biased. You've got to have a scientist in there. You haven't got to, but I would personally like to have a scientist in there. But maybe someone like Feynman, because a good scientist, but also a good communicator of science. So he could maybe explain to Liz what he did.
What's going on?
Maybe she'd be following it. I don't know, but
Lizzie, this is an atom.
But yeah, no, he was a really good communicator of all sorts of science ideas. And light relief, I suppose. I would go for Peter Kay. So one of my favorite comedians as a kid. Still can't. Still can't say garlic bread in our
Without-
family without
Garlic bread?
Precisely.
Peter Kay, man.
Peter Kay he is a treasure. He is a
Lads,
treasure. isn't
remember
he?
Phoenix Nights?
Yeah.
Oh, lads. Sammy the Snake? It's about their cock and balls, man. And he just goes...
Oh, that, on
There's a
bouncy castle.
bouncy castle.
That's so funny.
Man.
Tell you what, that's a good one. That it's a good dinner.
Peter Kay, yeah.
Peter
I think
Kay.
he's a nice guy as well. Like he's
By all-
not just a comedian who's like boring in real life. I
By
think
all,
he's actually
all intents and
funny.
purposes, he is quite a nice. Everyone says he's nice who's met him.
Yeah.
You always hear stories, don't you?
Yeah.
Right. So the last one is, what's the worst job you've ever had?
Worst job.
Job Moores.
No, I've never had any truly awful jobs.
Yeah.
I've had quite a range of jobs, quite different from my current one. Probably the worst one was only ever a very short-term kind of summer job, but it was working in a GP surgery, essentially administrative, but very not specialist, but very narrow administration. So basically, I can't remember the exact details, but they had to send out either the results or invitations to some survey to the entirety of their patient list, which is something like 15,000 people. And I think email existed back then, but it was when I was a sort of teenager, I suppose.
Yeah.
But email was not the form of communication; it was
It was
letters.
all letters, yeah.
Phone
So
letters.
basically, I had to fold 15,000 letters, put 15,000 letters in envelopes, which were not self-sealing.
Had to lick everyone.
So I genuinely had to lick all these envelopes.
It sounds like my worst. Like,
Yeah, and then kind of frank them to stamp them, and that was that.
Put Queen Lizzie on them.
Put Queen, yeah.
It comes full circle. That sounds horrendous.
Yeah, so I mean, it was only ever like short term, so I knew
Yeah.
it wasn't, this
Well,
is the rest of my
that's
life. But it wasn't the most intellectually stimulating
That's
job.
a horrible job. That
and
though,
I was in a room by myself. I think I had.
What, like they locked you away to get it done?
Yeah,
like,
pretty
go and do
much.
it, James.
Pretty much.
because they had to. Because if you see the pile, you just walk off. You just push it in, lock the door. You're there now, James.
Good luck.
It's like a prison sliding food under the door.
You'll get your $3.99 an hour when you get out.
Probably was something like that. I had some music for company, but it was in the days of MP3 players, so the early ones that you could fit something like 5 songs or whatever.
Yeah.
So very
them on
quickly, it's
repeat.
just going like round and round.
So you just had Oasis and like Stone Roses, one song and on repeat for an hour.
Honestly, I remember when I was just reminded me of a story when I was in college, because I'm like a first in my family to go uni.
Yeah.
Cambridge did a trip, and it was like, we'll get kids from up north and bring them down and show them
Get the little poor kids.
it's not stuffy.
Those
So
little
we
scruffs
so we
from
went
their
so I went
uncle.
down for 3 days, but like on the train home, it was in the days where like my mum paid for my contract and I had like no data. So the only album that I'd managed to download offline was Arctic Monkeys AM when it come out.
It's not a bad album to
No,
have, like,
yeah,
is it?
but on for 3 hours, I was just sat there with my headphones, just listening to Arabella.
Are you mad? 3 hours later, are you mad?
Honestly, the train pulled up at Runcorn Station. I was like, "Thank fuck, I could turn this off."
I fucking hate Alex Turner when you get off.
Yeah.
Fucking pretentious twat.
Honestly, I still have it. Like the album's great, like, but I think back to that train about an hour and a half in, and I'm just like, oh.
You know what? That makes me think as well. And I went to Turkey the other month, didn't I?
Yeah.
And I thought I'd downloaded songs and podcasts, and then I got on the plane and something had went on.
And it
My
just
phone,
didn't download
like,
properly.
Just hadn't downloaded.
There's
and I
nothing
got on the
worse, is
plane.
there?
I
Yeah.
had one episode of the Ricky Gervais show from 2005. Not, I mean, it's funny, but like
Turkey's a fair way as well. It's not
4
a half hour
hours,
flight.
lad. And I had literally 60 minutes of Carl Pilkington talking. So I had like a little laugh. I did that episode before, and I just went like,
Nothing to do now.
no music. I had to talk to me bird, man.
Oh no! How hell has opened.
Poor Demi, I love you, Demi.
So I love you getting it in there.
Maybe she sabotaged your playlist.
She had hers. She was like sitting there, just going
No, Sam, don't talk to me.
like
I'm
that to
listening.
the steward. Excuse me, can I just have a little combo or something?